What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scratch Agency podcast, hosted by Scratch Agents for Scratch Agents. My name is Stephen Turnbull, founder of T5 Insurance Services in Clinton, New York, and I'm joined by my co-host today, the one and only, you already know, hold your applause, Mr. Shawn Fitzgerald, the founder of Sound Harbor Insurance in Long Island, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is brought to you by Hawksoft, your family-owned and operated agency management system serving independent agencies with teams from 1 to 300 plus employees. Jose, an agency owner in California, enjoys Hawksoft due to the simplicity and ease of the platform. Mr. Fitzgerald, how are we doing today?
Good. A little sleep deprived from a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, but besides that, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Well, you look great. You
Thank
look
you.
great if that
Appreciate it.
helps at all.
Thank you.
As usual. I'm excited for this conversation. We have the partners of LionSure Insurance Brokers on. John and I met, and I want to tell this story, at the Big I event in Syracuse, New York, I think 2 years ago, John?
Yeah,
or was it last year? Probably 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And I think we just actually physically bumped into each other and started talking. And I said, "Hey, John, yeah, where are you from?" "Oh, down in the city." "Oh, yeah." And we talked. I said, "What's your agency?" He says, "Don't have one yet. I'm just here to learn." And I love that. And we've connected since. And now you guys got this agency, and we're looking forward to learning more. But if you guys want to start one by one, just introducing yourself quickly, and then we'll talk about the brokerage and go from there.
Yeah, I think the best would
Awesome.
be for Anthony to introduce himself, because he's the operating officer, the main captain of the company here. So Anthony, I think
Awesome.
You're the man of the hour, brother.
Appreciate it, John. And Stephen, thank you for the introduction as well. We are super happy to be here. So, Anthony Intile, I am the COO of LionSure Insurance, and I have here with me my two partners. John already kind of introduced himself, but John Dellafiora and Massimo Mancini. Mas, do you want to say a few words, introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having us on today. It's a real pleasure and really to tell our story, how we started as a scratch agency, what led us to get into wanting to get into this industry, and how we ended up here. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. Anthony's going to really tell us from start to finish where we are, how we started, and thanks again.
Good stuff. John, how about you?
So Steven's right. I about 2 years ago went up to the Big I. Me and Massimo, I'll give you a little background. Me and Massimo have known each other since we were, in our early teens. Became, best friends, brothers. We're, business partners in, other ventures, real estate and other things in private credit as well. And we always wanted to get into the insurance industry, or at least I did, because I had a large leasing company, which I had 1,200 Toyota Camrys on the road at one point. And my insurance bill was around $6.5 million a year. And I wasn't the biggest fan of my broker, but I was kind of like pigeonholed in a way. There was only one carrier. She had a great relationship with that carrier. So, I was in that business for a while. Fast forward, I sold it in 2023, took a lot of the proceeds, put into a private credit fund. But now I had some time to, get into the business. So me and Massimo were like, all right, how do we do this? Well, I went up to the Big I to go figure it out. I met Steven, and, he was just such a warm, welcoming kind of guy. Loved, I think, the fact that I had no idea what I was doing, but at least I had the courage to try. Anyway, so I created a corporation. I try to get appointed. I'm just tripping over myself trying to figure this thing out. Me and Massimo were almost kind of, we don't have the skill set. We don't have the knowledge to really do this and do this well. We could have done it and done it poorly and hurt our reputation. So we just decided to take a chill pill. And, by the grace of God, we met Anthony. And Anthony's, has an over a decade of experience in the industry, really specializes in, small but the middle market of insurance. Yeah, he actually pitched Massimo. And I'll have Massimo, tell this a little bit better. But he actually pitched Massimo on. All right, I'll take the story. He pitched.
We met off a cold call too, just to jump in.
He cold called. He was cold calling Massimo for like 4 years, which is.
He was on my list. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting in that appointment no matter what. At the end of the day, that's what I do. So led to a lot of other stuff, which was great, and I still won, right? So that's all that matters.
So finally, Anthony finally gets through the gatekeeper, which was Massimo's mother at the time, and how he got through was he bribed her with cannolis. Came over.
That's a push it over the edge.
Yeah.
Like, what do I got to do to get in
right there?
You know what? I got to bring you something. She's Italian, last name Mancini. I knew she wasn't Irish, obviously. He's like, let me bring you some cannolis. They'll be the best cannolis you ever had. You can kick me out of the meeting in 5 minutes if you don't like me.
Exactly.
She gave up Massimo. She's like, you got to talk to Massimo. I'm like, perfect. Who's Massimo? She's like, my son. Right?
That's awesome. Anthony, when you were doing the cold calling, where you were at I'm assuming you were at a different agency at the time, or?
I've worked for a lot of the name brand agencies before, top 10 agencies as far as brokerages. And yeah, I was working at one of them, just pounded away, middle market focused. I would say accounts above 10, we speak in revenue, so over $10,000 in revenue. My sweet spot was somewhere around between like 25 and 50. So I was teeing up a nice, let's say $50,000 in revenue account, trying to, pound some phones away. And that's how I met Massimo and John's. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's super cool.
Anthony
So,
did
Anthony,
the
tell
pitch-
us.
Anthony did the pitch to Massimo. Once Anthony leaves, Massimo calls me and he goes, "Johnny, I think we found our guy."
And that's cool.
Yeah, he calls Anthony, says, "Can you come back to that pitch one more time?" I said it in the meeting. Anthony blew me away. Knew everything about the industry. He was extremely impressive. Not with just as being a salesman, which is evidence of enough of 4 years of cold calling, but just his technical knowledge in the insurance space and specifically in Massimo's industry, which is a niche contracting industry, which not many people would know. But once we realized his intelligence, his ability to do a sale, we really presented him the idea of maybe doing a partnership together. And what we like to say is we dated for 9 months because a partnership is like a marriage. It is I feel it's a difficult thing to do. So we decided to date for 9 months. We discussed always back and forth of like what our goals and our visions were for the firm, which were to be more of a legacy rather than, hey, let's pump this thing up. Let's run it for 2 or 3 years and then sell to private equity. That is not our goal here. Each one of us, well, not yet for Anthony, but soon. But Massimo has a son. I have a son and Anthony has a son on the way. So we want to build up this company and have it for our family, our children, and let this thing run. But anyway, I feel like I'm talking too much. So I want to pass over back to Anthony just to describe maybe about how we officially started after those 9 months and really what we're doing at LionSure.
Just to go backwards to go forwards, John, I appreciate you passing it off. I specialize in construction. So I grew up in a family. I brand myself as a third generation contractor. So my family's been in the mechanical contracting space since the 90s. My father took over in the 80s, early 90s, and I learned the industry inside and out by actually working throughout the entire summer. And whenever I took a day off of school, I tried to play hooky and said, "I'm sick." My dad's like, "Great, I got an extra helper." So go make it happen at the end of the day. When I got into insurance about 10 years ago, right out of college, I always specialized in the contractors. Felt like I'm a blue collar kid working a white collar job, and I connect really well with them. So we're also kind of fast forwarding a little bit. We're also huge believers in God, and nothing ever happens from a coincidence perspective. Everything happens for a reason. So while Massimo and John, who I don't even know them, they're just names on a piece of paper, and they're looking to start their own agency. I was actually interviewing other people to start my own agency as well. And as soon as I met Massimo and John, and that became a conversation, it was completely godsend. So we didn't just rush into it like, "Oh, this is great. Let's do it. And let's start the agency tomorrow. Let's make it happen." It's a huge decision, as every single listener here knows, to start an agency, to start that foundation and talk about what that looks like. And obviously there's 3 of us. So we agree on a lot of stuff, but we also disagree on a lot of stuff. So working out some of those kinks, making sure that we're all on the same page, making sure we all have the same direction. And I think the anchoring point behind that was we want a legacy. We want to leave something for, it's this first generation for all of us, the second and third generation, if they want it. And we leave the world with, this being a better place for them. They can inherit something that we were literally in the trenches building over the last, now 2 years almost, but 9 months before that, and making everything happen. So it's been absolutely amazing, and I couldn't have chosen 2 better partners, and we're really, really happy together.
I want to get into the agency stuff, but since we're on this topic, John, you teed me up exactly about just the partnership, because we hear it in the community and some stuff of people looking to bring on a partner, and they talk about split and equity and whose roles and this and that. Like, talk about it, Anthony. Talk to us about you do that 9-month dating phase and realize this is something we want to do. What is the brainstorming behind you, especially from a scratch standpoint? I think it's a rare to hear 3 partners coming in from scratch versus, hey, I have this book, let's come together and make it bigger, and all those reasons. But talk to us about, okay, the 9 months is up and hey, we're going to do this together, and what's it going to look like?
100%. So we came in really with a vision and the foundation that we wanted to build. So middle market brokerages and the middle market space in general. So let's say from a premium perspective, clients on a $50,000 premium spend all the way up to, let's say, $1,000 premium spend, maybe a little bit more above that, but just using that as a range. I've worked at a lot of the big name brand brokerages, and they do a fantastic job. No shame at all for some of the stuff they're able to do. But just because they're so big and they're really focused on economies of scale and having obviously the biggest clients and making sure you're retaining them, we noticed a huge white space in that industry or in that market segment. So we want to target that market segment, bring all of our resources, bring our expertise, and treat them as if they were a Fortune 500 client. We're going to have the team behind them, the resources behind them. And at the end of the day, you're going to be able to actually talk to your broker. We're going to go out and treat them like they're the most important thing in the world. We've been really successful in doing that. And that was kind of where our foundation started. As far as, the equity and all that kind of stuff, we're not selfish. It's just that was a pretty easy conversation to have. I mean, when you meet with two other people, like Massimo and John said, they've been friends for such a long time. They're not trying to one up each other. And that energy was palpable. I just felt that. So they brought me into the fold. We decided to make something happen. And that was the easiest part of the entire conversation. That wasn't even a point of contention or anything to really be discussed. It was more of my reputation, their reputation. How are we going to make this thing happen? And how are we going to drive value? And at the end of the day, make money. And that was really what we focused on. So the 9 months was making sure we were comfortable with each other, but really just talking through what our plan's going to be, what the first, couple of months is going to be like, what we're going to grow for the next year or two. And, we have a whole 5-year plan and just hitting those metrics, hitting those projections, making sure that we're cash flowing the right way and bringing value to our clients and not trying to grow too fast. So that was really most of the conversation. And then getting our families to meet each other. So getting our wives to go out, sitting down, having dinner. I go over Massimo's house all the time. He lives 15, 20 minutes from me. John lives about an hour and a half from me, and I'm at his house as well. Anytime that I'm in New York, I'm popping over to John's house and sitting with him and his wife and his new baby. So it's a family affair, and besides just business, it's nice to do business and to have a partnership with two great people at the end of the day.
Steve, I know exactly what you mean. It might be hard sometimes when you got guys like they have two existing books and they come together, like to have two bosses that are coming together. And it's funny because the three of us are our own bosses in our own way. And we're all very, hard-headed at the same time, very strong-willed people. But there's a lot of mutual respect for one another. So we end up finding our way to agreement, even when we disagree. But Anthony has the majority of the insurance knowledge. So when Massimo and I, and Anthony partnered up, we, in many ways, but it's like, Anthony, you're the captain. You're going to steer the ship. We're going to listen to your advice. You know better than we do. So it's, really there's no egos between the three of us. So being able to like control that and not being like, oh, well, I want this and I want that. That really doesn't exist with the three of us because we each know what we know and what we don't know. Anthony is the authority when it comes to insurance for the business. Right. I'm a CPM, also a chartered financial analyst. I am kind of looking at more of the longer term goals, the cash flow projections, getting lines of credit, negotiating with banks to start gearing up for acquisitions. Massimo, on the other hand, extremely organized, knows accounting very well, knows the construction space, currently has a multi-million-dollar construction company. So he brings in that skill set. He also spearheaded his company to reduce his insurance program, almost like cut in half within like 2 years. So we each all had our strengths and weaknesses, and we each decided like, here are each other's roles, and we help each other out. So that's why I think it's almost like it's rare that three of us came together, but it's such a perfect relationship because we each have our different types of strengths. We're not like overlapping too much.
I gotta ask you guys. So that you beat me to the question I was going to ask about, like, hey, like strengths and weaknesses. You always hear that with partners. It's like, oh, you always want to find the partner that complements, your weakness, so to speak. I'm glad you answered that. I love to always ask guests that come onto the podcast. And I love, Anthony, that this all stemmed from a cold call. I think that's just the coolest thing ever. I'm assuming the prospecting that you guys are doing now to generate new business to the agency. I know you mentioned your target market. From a prospecting perspective, is it all cold call? Is it a mix of stuff? Like, what does that makeup of outreach look like for you guys?
So it's a lot of cold calling. I would say, first of all, to go backwards, I just love cold calling. I love the challenge. Anything that just has that factor where it gets your heart beating a little bit fast, and a lot of people aren't good at it. I'm always up for a challenge. So
Yeah, it's like getting in an ice bath.
It was just something to do. It's like working out. It's like, hey, I'm going to bang 20 cold calls today, see what happens. And I could go sit down in front of somebody and set a couple of appointments. But as you get to a certain spot from an expertise and a book of business standpoint, most of your stuff's really coming in from referrals, especially if you are that niche-based producer. If you do specialize, like myself, I specialize in artisan contractors. Anyone that's a plumber, electrician, or HVAC contractor within a 50-mile radius of here knows exactly who I am, and I've probably had an appointment with them. Even when we tee up the new producers to go through their CRM and they have some artisan contractors, I'm like, that's my client, that person I met with, that person I'm meeting with, next week type things. I would say cold calling is a big part of our agency. I think it's important. It also builds discipline and consistency and allows you to do something that's hard. And being an insurance broker, someone that being a producer, you're really running a business within a business. You have your own business. So I think it's important for them to understand some of the challenges and kind of work through that. And it builds a lot of camaraderie by doing that. So we do a lot of cold calling. We do a lot of referrals, obviously. Gotten our name out there pretty well. I've got my name out there pretty well. And Massimo and John, they have fantastic networks. So their name's already out there. It's more of just branding them now as insurance professionals. So between the three of us, mostly referrals is really what's coming in, but I still cold call every once in a while. Don't have as much time as I used to. So
he's selling himself short. He's trained all of our producers on cold calling. And in the beginning, you could see their numbers aren't the best, but then after 1 to 2 months of Anthony, just training, we have LionSure Academy, which we do twice a week. And we also do mock calls, at least once a week. So we've trained our producers to be excellent cold callers. Maybe not as good as Anthony just yet, but soon.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, so we do all of that stuff.
And to expand on it all, I think at the end of the day, we know that insurance is a relationship-based business. And John and I, one of the main reasons we want to get into it is we have such a great network, especially myself, of almost 16 years in the construction industry. How can we offer something? How can we bring value to our relationships? And, one something that everyone needs, especially in business, even on the personal line, but specifically in the business, you need insurance, right? And who do you want to do it with? So, not only can we have that relationship, bring them the value, but all said, behold, you're going to be there for them when they need you most. When that piece of paper says, I need you, we bring that value and the expertise and, hold your hand to get through, some of the tough times, which, in the insurance industry is not always, the ideal place to be with some of these brokers out there. So we really pride ourselves on that. And we are really taking advantage of our strong network and, diving in. And then from there, just the referrals showing that. So it's been a hell of a ride so far.
Cool. Did you guys, because I know you mentioned producers already, which is within 2 years. Sounds like a very good feat. How did you guys, what was your plan when you guys came together? How quick did you onboard a new producer? Did you guys wait a year? Did you do it right away? What first day?
2 months, I think it was. 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, we got our appointments first, because when we first,
yes.
So we had to go through.
We were interviewing while we were going to get the appointments.
We were. Joe was pretty early in the mix. I think Joe started in late May, call it June 1st, just to put a date on it. So we started the agency in February, so 4 months, and we had Joe. Really what we look for is insurance is more of a personal development company. We happen to sell insurance. So I was always looking for someone, if they have experience, fantastic. That's just the cherry on top. But I'm always looking for somebody when I hire someone, are you a complete individual? Do you work out? Do you take care of yourself? Are you presentable? Are you doing all the things that you need to do in your life to be successful? Are you someone that's just really never satisfied and never happy and you're constantly pushing the envelope? You achieve a goal and now all of a sudden there's a new goal that's, 10% better than that. So someone that's like that, guy or girl, we want to have a conversation with them and I could teach you all the stuff that I've learned. I can consolidate 10 years worth of knowledge into maybe a year or so. And to give Joe a little bit of spotlight here, he's been doing absolutely fantastic. Coming into the agency with really no insurance experience, true producer experience. He's taking BORs left and right, going after middle market clients and really building a nice solid book for himself. So he's a true testimonial to someone that can come in, not really know how to cold call, not really know, the coverages and all of that. And through training, doing role plays, having call blitzes, and just making it a fun environment to grow in, I mean, he obviously puts in the work. The results are there. So he's been doing fantastic, and same with the rest of our producers as well. But he was our first producer.
We had a game plan too. Like when we got together, we did a whole 5-year projections. We capitalized the company. We know where our end goal is. Now, of course, projections, they hold as much weight as far as you could actually perform. But, right now we're directly in line. We're growing at the same pace that we wanted to grow. And we made sure not to grow too quickly, because sometimes then you run into cash flow concerns and you'll go under. So we're very conservatively aggressive with how we grow. And it's easier when it's the three of us. 3 of us together, our combined resources, right? Like if I was doing it on my own, I bet you we wouldn't have a total of, 7 producers, So the fact that it's the 3 of us together, it allowed us to grow at a faster rate.
And then I got to ask you guys, because cold calling rarely comes up on the podcast, so I'm all giddy right now.
You guys don't realize, because you may not know Shawn as good as I do, he's having a field day right now. If you could see his feet are kicking underneath the desk.
I like it, Shawn.
I'm just going to sit back and let Shawn drive this.
For the cold calling for the producers, have you guys ever toyed with hiring somebody to just do cold calling, just an appointment setter?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that model work where you can call it a sales development representative, and you pair them with a closer, someone that has more experience. I've seen that work very, very well. But also too, that's something that maybe comes a little bit more in the future. I'm trying to produce right now, getting people that are more technical, having them run the entire cycle. But as we have more technical producers that can become the closers, 1,000%, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think too, just when I think more about that, I always battle with it. But, and Anthony, I know you know this, is when you are cold calling somebody, having that field knowledge and knowing what the whole first appointment is like and what the AOR process is like. If somebody's interested, just the most random questions come up. So if you have that experience, it's night and day versus somebody who is just there setting appointments. So no, that totally makes sense to me. What kind of KPIs do you guys put for your producers as far as certain amount of calls per day, certain amount of meetings from those calls? Is there anything that you're okay with sharing related to that?
1,000%. I think it's an industry standard as far as some of the stuff that I've been a part of and what it takes to be successful. So I built a book from nothing. I came in, nobody gave me anything, and I followed, I drank the Kool-Aid. I followed what the metrics were, and I was able to build a really nice book for myself, and we passed that down onto the producers. Cool. 60 calls a week minimum. New account calls, so you can't call one person 10 times and count that as 10 calls. So 60 organic new touches, new logos at a minimum. 100 would be preferable. But at the end of the day, if I say 60 and you're calling 61, if I have a team of 3 producers and they're constantly one-upping each other, they're raising the room. And at the end of the day, they're just making money by doing it. So we'll run an activity contest. We have a Monday morning sales meeting, and it's drum roll, please, who wins this week? And I don't share the results with them until Monday. And they're constantly heeing and hawing. I actually called 5 more people, but it was on my cell phone. It wasn't on the office phone. And, I'm actually at 68 or whatever. So 60 calls a week minimum. I would say strive for 100. I mean, call 200. Call as many as you possibly can. You're going to make more money at the end of the day. And 2 appointments. Now, that doesn't mean stop at 2 appointments a week, but 2 appointments minimum. The whole goal as a producer at a minimum, depending on where you want to be and how much money you want to make, you need to have about $1 million in the pipeline in premium. Obviously commission percentage changes, whether it's excess or it's admitted space, but you have $1 million in premium at a minimum at any given time. You're closing business at a good rate. I mean, you got a minimum of $100,000 in revenue that you're ready to go after and you're ready to close. If you don't have that $1 million pipeline, I mean, get more than that, great. But if you don't have that $1 million pipeline and you want to make money, make more phone calls, go to more events. I mean, we just sent 2 producers to Las Vegas for a restaurant convention, and they're walking around, they're getting business cards. They're like, hey, can we write in this state? I'm like, get the policies, we'll have a conversation, we'll figure it out. So, it's all different stuff like that. It's just getting people that want to win, they're competitive, and they respect each other, which we're really proud of the culture that we've built here, but they all want to be better than each other, respectfully. So just hiring more people to be a part of that room is how we're going to get where we need to be.
Yeah, I love that. You go too fast.
No, Shawn, keep going.
Stop.
No. You're on a roll.
I'm not going to stop.
No, I can't remember. I was trying to think of who talked to us about this in the past, Shawn, but the one episode we talked to someone, it'll come to me. But when they hire producers, they only hire them in pairs. And I thought it was for that competitive advantage and culture standpoint. To your point, if I made 61 calls, well, I'm going to make 62. Talk to us about that. Have you done that strategically, or is that something you try to do?
We had a pair hiring, and it's worked out really well. Just depends on finding the right people. So in a perfect world, yeah, I'd love to hire pairs and get two people that come in at the same time. They start, they're competitive, and naturally it's just like you sit across the table from each other, and it's like unspoken. It's me versus you, and I'm going to be number one type thing. So we have had that. We had two producers start at the same time, but it's really just kind of going back to what John said, not sacrificing, well, the capital, number one, the time, number two, and they're equally as important to each other, but hiring the right people. So if we find one really good person, we're like, oh, screw it, let's just get the second person to start at the same time. Chances are maybe it doesn't work out. And we're looking to have a bunch of killers at the end of the day who want to put in work, who want to build a book of business, who have a good reputation and have that moral integrity. I mean, as you guys know, this industry is full of a ton of people that really just do the wrong thing. They have terrible relationships with underwriters. Nobody trusts them as far as they could throw them. And we want people where it's like, the three of us built this, and our brand needs to be reflected in honesty, transparency, integrity. I mean, Massimo and Johnny have a great reputation in their space and now in the insurance space. I built these connections over the last 10 years by being honest, transparent, and doing the right thing. So I can't start hiring producers just because I want another one. And then all of a sudden the brand starts being reflected the wrong way, and we're not respecting our carrier partners.
That's huge for us. It's like the character of the people that we're actually going to bring on. Like, our number one thing is like, you have to be a good human being to start, and my big thing I always like to say is we do not lie in here, so we do not stretch the truth. We do not lie. And you could find that, I've caught other, in my other businesses, producers that have lied to me in the past. So that is like a big thing with us is the character of the people that we hire. But going back to you, Shawn, like, do we hire in pairs? Definitely. We want to always hire in pairs because of one, that competitiveness. But if you already have existing producers, it's fine. They'll just come first, the other guys. But just from a time perspective of, Anthony trains these guys one-on-one. But now it's when you hire two, he's training two guys at once. So it's like, we just put up job posting. We're looking to bring on 4 people right now. So we're trying to hire 4 right now, which would be great. It would be 5 people in a room, 4 with Anthony, giving them the training that they need to actually succeed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anthony, what last thing I'm going to ask you related to this, because I could go on forever on this.
You can keep going.
Anthony, it's not going to be the last thing.
Sales training, is it like a daily, this is what time we're meeting, this is what to expect? Do you have one-to-ones? What does that process look like for the sales team specifically?
So all of that, and you hit it right on the head. 8:30 in the morning, every single Monday, we run a sales huddle with the entire team, not only just the sales producers, but the marketing, the service, really everybody. It's an all hands-on thing, mostly geared on sales, but we also like to have a conversation about what's going on in the market, updates, things that might have happened, share some wins, share some losses with the team, what happened. And myself, Massimo, and Johnny are all a part of that as well. So we do that. We also have a weekly marketing meeting where we go through just exactly what the opportunities are, where they're at. I join that meeting. Our marketing girl, Juliana, she runs point on that and does all of that kind of stuff. But I'm there making sure everything's all good, making sure the CRM's updated. It's now like shoes on the other foot, where my old sales managers are like, put it in the CRM. And I'm like, it's the producer's worst nightmare. It's like, yeah, it'll be in there eventually. So now I'm doing that. And I'm like, where is this in the CRM? What's the close date? How much revenue are you projecting? So we run those meetings. We do a LionSure Academy every single Tuesday at 4:30. Runs for about an hour. To be honest with you, most of the time it runs an hour and a half, and we're going into 6 o'clock. And I've never even seen one of the producers or the people that are sitting on the call, because sometimes you have our service people sit on as well, depending on what the subject matter is. They're never veering off. They're taking notes. They're engaged.
And no one's yawning. No one's yawning during that meeting. Because although it's like insurance and it can be dry to learn. We're not teaching just insurance. We're teaching the sale. We're teaching the business. We're teaching how to grow and how to make money. So everyone's paying attention.
People want to level up.
We're doing role plays just like randomly in between. Sorry to cut you off, Ann.
No, you're good. No, you're good. It's fun. And the producers love it. They're laughing back and forth at each other. I tell them to be as raw and as authentic as possible when we role play certain situations. Like they'll get 60 seconds or, 2 minutes, because that's most of the time, from a cold call perspective or a subject matter perspective that you're going to have an insured's attention. So they're like, shutting each other down, being nasty to each other. Like, this is how it is. We're in New Jersey. We're in New York, So the camaraderie's high. We're all having a good time and it's fun. To answer your question, sales huddles, LionSure Academy, which is training. I do one-on-ones with all the producers for an hour. I'm also extremely accessible. I mean, this isn't just like a job for me. This is my life. 8, 9 o'clock at night, they're texting me different things that are going on. They all text me over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, hey, this is what's going on next week. And then I go with them if I'm available to every single one of their appointments, especially if it's a large opportunity. So I'm going out with them, collecting information, teaching them the process. As they learn more, they need me less from opening the door, collecting the information and kind of having those conversations. But then at the end, if it's a worthwhile account and the producer needs me, I'm going there to close because that's what's putting dollars on the table at the end of the day. So they get to learn from me. I go with them. And, like Joe, for example, who started with us the earliest, I probably don't even go with him on 50% of his opportunities now and closing as well. So he's completely off on his own. And if he needs me, he calls me. He knows I'm accessible. But, that's some of the training that we provide. And our industry as a whole, the training stinks. Like there is no formal training. I've worked at a lot of other agencies before and they all have their different models, but none of it's continuous. It's like, hey, here's a 2-month crash course. Hey, here's how to send an email, template type thing, or here's a quick meeting we're going to do because I feel like running a meeting today type thing. And it's all peer on peer learning. So if you have good friends and people stay in the agency because there's a lot of turnover and you have people that you're able to connect with, you just learn by, leeching onto them and hopefully they're teaching you the right stuff. So that
Anthony,
was one of
what are you doing differently in your training that you're finding success with? Because that's a very true statement when you say the training stinks. I mean, you have some of these carriers that offer this producer or school or whatever it might be.
I got to say something to that. What I could tell you is something very different that Anthony does just from what he said is he leads from the front. He's going on appointments with the producers. He's helping the producers out with certain calls and how to handle certain things. And I'm not sure many sales trainers or managers or owners are that involved in the process. So just kudos to you for that, Anthony.
Thank you. They're not, Shawn. Most sales managers in the insurance world are they're metric pushers. Yep. They've been successful at one point in their career, but they're kind of sitting back and they're not leading from the front. I produce my own business as well. So in the few time that I have between all the stuff that we talked about, I'm going out by myself like a silent assassin and doing my own stuff, as well as John and Massimo stuff as well. So time is not a commodity that I have, but I make it happen. And I live and breathe this at the end of the day. I mean, it's my entire life and I'm happy doing it. I wake up every morning with a smile on my face.
And our corporate structure allows for it. We divide and conquer, so there's things that I handle that Anthony doesn't. The many things that Anthony handles that Massimo and I don't. Things that Massimo handles that we don't even know about or touch. But there's that trust and the separation of duties that allows for Anthony to be able to train our producers, which is one of the most important things for our business. How else are we going to grow without producers? And our account managers as well. They're the foundation of our company. When we first started, when Anthony first came over, he said, no, well, we need an excellent account manager to start. Me and Massimo did not know that at first. And it was something that
you guys are like producers. Exactly. I'm like, everything's going to go walk right out the door in 6 months to a year if we don't have the right service team to handle it. Because it's a lot of service.
Yeah, certificates, especially for contractors.
Yeah,
a ton.
And we're going after, the middle market contractors. So you need to have a very skilled account manager. We're not just doing simple bops here.
And to emphasize on, just the success of producers, account managers, and just in general, and just in business, I want to emphasize on structure and discipline. You incorporate that on anything you do. It is a recipe for success. And we take pride in that in LionSure. And that's why our team members, they all have that. And that's part of the culture that we're building here. So part of the recruitment that we're looking for, that's 100%. You need structure, you need discipline. And we'll help you and we'll guide you to the success and to create the wealth. So yeah, it's top level stuff.
We got to wrap up here soon for time, but Anthony, I want to go back to something you said really early on that I wrote down. Every artisan contractor knows exactly who I am or I've had an appointment with them. For someone listening to this, we talk about niching a lot, right? In whatever way that is. And someone listening to that and like, man, that's it. That's what I have to do. Like, even if they say no, they need to know who Anthony is. Talk to them about how, through your career of the last 10 years, how you've done that.
You just need to be consistent. I mean, I know it's like so cliche, but you need to be disciplined and consistent. It's like, I relate this to the producers a lot. I work out 5-6 times a week, every single week. If I just worked out once or twice a week and I did like 2 or 3 hours of a workout, like I'm sweating in the basement, doing 2 or 3 hours, and it's a really good workout, but I only do it once or twice a week, I'm going to get no results. So you got to be consistent. You got to do things that you don't want to do. And you have to know at the end of the tunnel, you're not going to get the results immediately. But if you keep working out and you keep, you're staying consistent with it, you will look good eventually and you will have the results that you want. It's no different than cold calling. You're going to get hung up on a lot. If you stay in your niche, all the things might not work out. But the more that you win, and honestly, the more that you lose, you learn, all right, I lost this way. I'm not going to lose this way again. And you have to have, you have to have confidence in yourself. I think that's really unspoken. I don't think any salesperson who's been successful is not an extremely confident individual, to the point of almost delusion, where they're like, I got this. I'm going to make it happen at the end of the day. Just anything in life, if you stay consistent and you're able to do it when it's boring and you do it when it sucks and you do it on a rainy Monday morning, you will be successful. So, and if you want it more than everybody else, everything in life is a competition. Anyone that tells you it's not is a loser, because you're always competing against someone. And in our business, in order to win, you need to take it from somebody else. So if you don't have that, that grit, you're not waking up early and trying to make it happen every single day, someone else younger than you or less experienced or just hungrier is going to make it happen. So I treat everything in life as a competition, and I'll be damned if I'm number 2. So that's just been my mentality far before I even had one client. I was like, oh, I got this, no problem at all. And nobody was going to tell me how to do it or how not to do it. So just make it happen. Stay consistent.
Yeah. Gentlemen, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. Hey, John, where can everyone just learn more and follow on the agency and see what you guys do? I know you're doing a ton with social, so what's a good place to just follow on your journeys?
LionSure INS, at LionSure INS, and then we're very active on LinkedIn as well. So if you're interested in learning more about us, you can go on our website. We have a contact form there, www.lionsureins.com, our Instagram, LionSure INS, or our LinkedIn page, which is LionSure Insurance Brokers, LLC. So just look us up there. We'd be happy to get in contact with you guys. And same thing for other agency owners. We'd love to talk to you guys, have a conversation, tell you about some of the stuff that's working with us, and share some stuff.
Well, thanks again, guys, for taking your time. Everybody, that's another episode of the Scratch Agency Podcast. Do us a favor, like the show, share the show, and subscribe. But most importantly, remember to dig down deep, believe in yourself, and own your own future. We'll see you next week. Take care.